Hi everyone, this is Olivia Dietzman and thank you for joining my YouTube channel. This is my first tutorial. So today we're going to be making this really beautiful Christmas card that is the stamps and dies as well as the punches are all available through Stampin' Up. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator. So this is the card we're going to make today and let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is the Making Christmas Sprite stamp set, and it coordinates with a die. Let's see if you can see that. That punches out the light bulbs. And then the second stamp set you'll need is Christmas Pines. It's in our annual catalog. And then the dies that we also need are the coordinating dies that go with the Christmas Pines stamp set. So just so you can see what all the dies include. And then these 3 pine boughs is what we're going to need today. That, and then we need our stitched framelits. These ones here are the ovals and the circles. You need the second to smallest size for this one for our sentiment. And then it does come with squares on the other side. Okay, so those are the dies and the stamps that you need. And then we're going to be using cherry cobbler paper, whisper white paper for all of our stamping. And then the ink pads you'll need today are Granny Apple Green, Garden Green, and cherry cobbler. And then for the light bulbs, we have Coastal Cabana, Daffodil Delight, and Lovely Lipstick. Alright, so let's get started. So first off, I'm going to fold over my card base. I use my Stampin' Up bone folder to make sure that my card base is nice and flat. I'm going to set that off to the side. Again, that's on cherry cobbler. And this is just your standard card base. I'll have the dimensions of the card base and the white pieces of paper that we're doing our stamping on in the description in the comments below. So the first part we'll do is the exterior of the card. And we're going to stamp the pine boughs first. So all my pine boughs are second generation stamping. So if you're new to stamping and you're not sure what second generation stamping is, all it is you ink up your stamp and have a scrap piece of paper handy. You stamp it off onto your scrap piece of paper, and then you're going to actually stamp the second generation without re-inking your stamp onto your card that you want. So basically, it helps you get more colors with the same ink pads. So if you're limited on the number of ink pads that you have, it's a great way to look like you have more colors than what you have. So I'll show you real quick. I'm going to ink this up, and actually with this, because the stamp is so large, I like to do it like this. And I'm going to stamp off. I was going to show you off this, take it off the screen, but I'll show you on the screen. So just stamp off once like that. Remove your scrap paper. Put your card base back on and place it where you would like it. And we're just going to repeat this step. So I'm not going to show you me stamping it off every time. Position my stamp how I want it. Okay, so there's our first pine branch. I'm gonna close up. Actually, I'm still here. I should do the inside of the card too, because if you recall, the inside of our card has this cute little sentiment, and I put a branch in there as well. So let's stamp that while we're here. So same thing, second generation stamping. I also like the second generation stamping personally for this card because the colors are a lot more subtle. They're not as bold. If you like bold colors, then you can by all means do it first generation stamping. The ladies that I did a class with a few weeks ago now, several of them did it first generation because they liked the look of that. So now I'm using my garden green and just inking up the stamp. This stamp set is really nice because you don't actually have to line things up. So this stamp here is just going to make the branches look fuller and give it some dimension. So there's that. So looks pretty cool, huh? So let's go back to our card front, and I'm just going to repeat the process again. So stamping off on my scrap paper and then just getting it close, stamping down my second generation. And we'll just keep repeating this process. So you can rotate your paper if it's easier for you. Oh, and see, but so I didn't line that one up super close, but the great thing about it is it just looks like I've added some dimension. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp again, stamp off, and so this is just going to be a really full branch. So see, can't even really tell. That's the best thing about stamping, is if you made a mistake, something you didn't want to do, it's easily fixable. Okay, so now we have all of our pine bough stamps, so I'm going to close up this ink pad too. Set this off to the side. And next thing I'm going to use is, so I already die cut the stitched framelit oval, so I'm going to stamp my sentiment here, and it's kind of hard to see probably, but it's Making Spirits Bright, and you can see I've got a mask here. So this original stamp did say Making Spirits Bright, but I didn't like that bright. It wasn't fancy enough for me. I liked this bright better. So what I did without having to cut my stamp is I applied a mask. So what we're going to do is ink this up, pull the mask off, and then stamp it so that this bright won't show up and this bright will. And I'm using my Memento black ink. So I'm just going to ink it up. I always like to stamp off one time to see if I inked up my stamp evenly, which, if you can see here, I didn't. The P and S in spirits is pretty faint, so I'm going to ink it up again, stamp off. Okay, that looked a lot better. So, going to ink it up a final time here, set my ink off to the side, remove my mask. If I can do it without getting myself covered in ink, that would be fabulous. Set that off to the side, and then I'm going to line this up. Press down, lift up, and there we have that. So that is all we needed the Memento black ink for, so I will close this back up. And then the next thing is I have just a sponge here that we sell, and I've cut it. You can cut your sponges into quarters, and then I like this instead of the daubers because I have a problem with getting circles of the dauber whenever I ink something up. So the sponges for me are a lot more forgiving. So you just ink it up, so just dab it on here just to pick up some ink, and then we're just going to brush the edges to give this some color and make it pop. You can ink it up some more if you want. Just distressing the edges of our paper here. So there's that. And you can see the super cute stitch lines. Makes it look like it's been sewn when it really hasn't, which is awesome. So set this off to the side. And that's all we needed the cherry cobbler for. Close that up, set that off to the side. Okay, and then next we can go ahead and stamp all of our light bulbs. So this is just a scrap piece of paper. So when I was cutting out the white, the second layer of white for my card, I had some leftovers, which ended up working perfect for my light bulbs. So we're using two different light bulbs here. This is just the regular one. It's a solid light bulb. And then this one here, if you can see, there's a little star in the inside of it, which I thought was super cute. So two light bulbs, and we have the three different colors. We have the Coastal Cabana. If I can get it opened here. Coastal Cabana, the Daffodil Delight, and Lovely Lipstick. So I'll just get all three of these opened up here. There. So what I'm going to do is ink this up in the Lovely Lipstick. This is the star one. I'm going to stamp off so it's a little more pink. It'll be fainter. And I'm going to stamp this closer to this edge, and I'll show you why once I use the die punch. I'm sorry, not the die punch, the punch. There's a reason for my madness. So that's pretty faint, so maybe I won't do second generation actually. So line it up, stamp it. There, that's better. So because we are using three different colors, you are going to need to wipe your stamp off. So I have the Stampin' Chamois, which is amazing. So much faster than a baby wipe. Okay, and then the Coastal Cabana. Clean my stamp off. And Daffodil Delight. And going to repeat the process with the solid stamp. So if you've never stamped before and you're watching this video and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is way too complicated, I promise you, once you do it, it's not. It does look really daunting. When I was doing the class for this a few weeks ago, that was the most common worry amongst the stampers that were there, because we had all different skill levels. People who had never stamped all the way to people that had been stamping for years. So I promise you, it's really not that hard. Once everyone was done with it, they loved the card, and that was the first thing that always came out of their mouth was, oh my gosh, this was so much easier than what I thought it was going to be. Okay, so now we're going to punch out the light bulbs with our punch here that coordinates with the stamp set. So, and actually I can just push these ink pads off to the side. So, the reason why you want it closer to one end than the other, see when I'm going to punch this, how there's a white tab here? That's so that you can glue the light bulb fixture stamp to it. There's a little tab there that you can then glue it to, which makes life so much easier. So I'm going to just punch all these out. Okay, so we have all those punched. Get our scraps off to the side here. Okay, now for the sake of time, so this is the light bulb fixture stamp set, and you can actually see right there where I've stamped it off before. I'm not going to glue these all together on the screen because I'm already over time. I have some that are already assembled, so I'm just going to use those. If I can get them all out. Okay, so now we can start assembling. We'll set this over to the side. So first thing first is I'm going to mount the front to my card base, and I'm going to just use some snail adhesive. I always send my cards in the mail. My husband is in the Coast Guard, and we are currently stationed in Washington State, and I am from Michigan, so we don't have any family here. So I use lots of adhesive so that I don't have to worry about my cards falling apart in the mail. And so far, not had a problem using the Stampin' Up! Products. So the next thing then is we're going to take these pine boughs that I had die cut off the screen, and this is in garden green. And we're going to place the long one at the bottom here, and then the medium one and the smallest one we'll place at the top like this. So can use some liquid adhesive or glue dots. I really like liquid adhesive because I am mailing through the mail. And this is the Glitter Art Dries Clear with the fine tip applied adhesive. And you just apply it towards the end here. Because I'm okay with it sticking up off the paper a little bit. It gives it a little bit of dimension. So you can see it doesn't take a lot. This glue is awesome. So no, it's not a Stampin' Up! Product, but like I said, I've had great success with it when I'm gluing papers down, doing scrapbooks and photos and stuff. I don't have to worry about there being a glue ridge line after things dry, because I hate that. So just apply some glue to the center. And it's okay if it hangs off the edge a little bit because we have the cherry cobbler frame behind it. And going to do the same thing to this one. It's got a little bit too much there. Okay, let me put my pin back in this so it doesn't dry close. So we've added our pine boughs there. Now we're going to add our sentiment, which I just need to see where I put it. Here it is. And this I've popped up on some dimensionals. I do have the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, which are fantastic. However, I have a bunch of non-Stampin' Up! Supplies that I'm also trying to get used up. So I highly recommend the Stampin' Dimensionals. They are fantastic. I'm just using up some supplies that I have that I need to get rid of so that then I can just use Stampin' Up! Materials all the time. And we're going to place this right in here. So, and as you can see, that cherry cobbler, by distressing the edge there, really makes it pop and stand up off from our white background there. So now we're going to add our light bulbs. And you just kind of arrange them however you want, really. See if I can get mine here. So I'm going to kind of put this one here. Maybe that one there. And I didn't pop all of these up on dimensionals when I glued them down. Just some of them. So something like that. So I'm just thinking I'm missing one of my lovely lipsticks, light bulbs, of course, only when you're trying to make a video. So, okay, well, we'll just move on without it, and I can add it afterwards. So, the ones that I'm going to pop up with dimensionals is just whatever ones you want popped up. So I add my dimensional. And I do kind of liked it underneath the branch here. Gives it a little bit of pop, and you can work the pine bough here so that it's not popped up all the way. Okay. I'm going to pop this one up too. So, tear off back. That, and then these ones, I'm just going to use my snail adhesive. So, and I'm actually going to move this one up here since I haven't found my missing light bulb yet. And this one's not glued down, so we'll glue this one. Okay, do something like that. Now we're going to glue the inside that we had stamped earlier. And you could put whatever sentiment in here that you wanted. The original one I had said Merry Christmas. However, that Merry Christmas sentiment is no longer available. So I'm going to leave this blank for right now. But as you can see, there's plenty of room that you could easily write whatever you wish to the inside of your card. And because we stamped second generation, you can write easily over that pine bough and be able to read it still. So we're just gonna center this in here. Push that down like that. Just that. And then the finishing touches, just gonna add some Wink of Stella to my light bulb. So you just color. Not sure if you can really see that. So you want to work pretty fast with your Wink of Stella because it will start picking up the ink from your stamp. So then you can wipe it off. There's that. And then I have some bling here. So, and I like to use the tips. So this is my bling here. We're going to add it around the sentiment. Maybe. They don't fling all over the place. So we're going to add this one here. All right, and just like that, you have a Christmas card. So because, you know, I'm explaining everything, it took me about 26 minutes to complete this card. I'd say if you're not having to show someone step by step on how to make this card, you could easily make a card in 10 minutes. So, and as you can see, where I had kind of made a boo-boo earlier, you can't even really tell. So that's the awesome thing about stamping. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching my first tutorial. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and I will answer them. And I'm going to try to come out with a video every week. So stay tuned and please subscribe and like below if you liked my video. Thanks, guys.